Hi team! So in this video I want to talk to you about chemicals. The chemicals that are added to our food. Now when you go shopping in the supermarket and you're buying a ready-made pasta sauce, it could be a ready meal in the chiller cabinet, it could be cookies, biscuits, pastries, sweets, crisps. When you look at the ingredients, there's a lot more than just the basic simple whole foods that we recognise. Apple, currants, sugar, flour, butter. These things we recognise and we know what they are. When you start seeing things like monosodium glutamate and a whole host of E numbers, these are the chemicals which are added, and they're added for two major reasons. Number one, they're flavour enhancers. So the food itself may not be the most palatable and the most naturally delicious, especially if it's really, really processed. So flavour enhancers do what they say on the tin. They improve what our brain perceives that flavour to be, so we eat more. They're quite addictive, these flavour enhancers, and so they affect how much we eat, and they really disrupt our natural hormonal signals that our body naturally wants to use and respond to cease our eating. And so these flavour enhancers keep us eating, so we eat too much. And then the other thing is preservatives. And again, they do what they say on the tin. They mean that a packet of biscuits can sit in the middle shelf of the supermarket for 2 years. Whereas you bake a batch of cookies at home, and to be honest, they probably wouldn't last the week anyway, because you'd munch your way through them because they're so delicious. But because they've got such natural whole ingredients, within a week, maybe 2 weeks, they would have started to mould, they would be oxidised by the air, and they would naturally diminish in quality, and quantity. And because there's no chemicals there to preserve them or to enhance their flavour. Now, these chemicals, our body doesn't really know what to do with them. When we're faced with carbohydrates, protein, fat, vitamins, minerals, fibre, our body knows what to do. It processes it really, really well. And when we've got a beautiful balance of these things, when we've got a plate in front of us with some lovely clean protein, healthy fats, complex carbohydrate, loads of veggies, loads of fibre, our body deals with it really well. It converts that food into energy. It stores additional energy in our cells, every cell of the body, ready for when you need to get up and walk across the office, ready for when you need to do one of Jeanette's workouts. And if we're having a regular supply of these great clean whole foods, our body doesn't want to store a lot as fat. It just doesn't want to. When we restrict our energy intake, if we cut our calories too low, our body's pretty smart and it starts to get a little bit worried where its next meal's going to come from. So it will convert a little additional energy into fat, into our adipose cells, our fat cells, just in case there is a depletion or not enough food coming in future days or future weeks. So it's not a good thing to cut down the calories too much. We talk in the first week of the programme about reducing approximately 500 calories off of what we're currently consuming. If our body weight and our body fat's a bit higher than we want it to be right now, whatever our current calorie intake is, it's a little bit too much. It's that simple. Chop off 500 off that number and it's enough for us to start utilising and burning our stored fat reserves in our adipose tissue, but it's not enough to put our body into, I suppose, a mode of concern where it thinks, hold on a second, I was getting a lot more food yesterday and the day before, is there a shortage of food? And the key as well, with that depletion of calories, with that little £500 deficit, the rest of those calories, however many it may be, 1200, 1500, 1700, they've got to be the right type. Carbs, protein, fats, clean whole ingredients. When they're very, very processed versions or very, very processed meals made with those ingredients, and when they're added with chemicals, our body doesn't process them and deal with them well. One of the big baddies of the chemical world I really want to touch on is the sweeteners. Things like aspartame, sucralose, there's many, many different versions. These are man-made sweeteners that have generally got a very, very low energy level, really low on calories, or even none. And so these guys became huge in the 80s when the diet industry in the food manufacturing world went huge. And we would consume loads of these and think of your diet fizzy drinks, think of diet yogurts, diet anything. The fat, which is where the flavour is, has been removed. And instead, flavour enhancers have been added, and we know that they increase our appetite, and then sweeteners are added to make the food or the substance taste really, really great, but have no calories. Now, these sweeteners play havoc with our hormones, and they really disrupt the natural hormones which want to control our satiety. Every 3 to 4 hours, when we've used up our energy reserves, our body naturally wants to say to us, time for some clean fuel. And when we've eaten and consumed enough, though, a different set of hormones naturally want to say, we're done. You know, put down that plate of salad and clean meat and clean carbohydrate. When you've got very processed foods with chemicals, with sweeteners, those hormones, they don't work, and they're confused. So we end up eating a lot more. It also means that you're not satisfied. So you've had a diet substance to try and take on less calories, to try and take on less energy, and you end up wanting to eat more and not feeling full. So with the greatest intentions, you kind of have the worst impact on the body. I don't want you to walk around the supermarket worrying or looking at every single tin or jar thinking, what was that ingredient? What was that chemical? What was this? What was that? Keep it really, really simple. When you pick up a jar, when you pick up any packet, if you don't recognise a single ingredient as a whole food, put it down. And there is enough choice and enough selection out there that you can do it. And you're going to go through a period of change where you're used to certain products and you're used to certain brands, and over the next week, 2 weeks, they'll sort of disappear out of your life as you make healthier choices. And you will find, as I have over the years, that it becomes a lot quicker, a lot easier, and a lot more enjoyable to prepare your own. I don't know the last time I bought or even looked at a jar of a tomato sauce, whether it's for a pasta or the base for a chilli or a curry or something like that. I just know it's so much faster and easier to get clean tins of chopped tomatoes, to get big bags of fresh tomatoes, onion, garlic, rosemary, a few herbs, and make my own. I know exactly what's going in it. If I know what those ingredients are, my body's going to know what those ingredients are, and it's going to deal with them really, really well. It's going to not encourage my fat cells, which I need. They're there for a good reason, but it's not going to encourage them to store more than I want them to, and it's going to make weight management a lot easier. So I hope this video has been a little bit informative for you. I didn't want this to be sort of a information overload, and I've talked to people and a lot of clients in the past about chemicals, and it can become a huge minefield, and it can become really overwhelming, and it can make the weekly food shop just way more drama than it needs to be. So I'm hoping that we just keep it as simple as possible. Really, really pay attention to your food, pay attention to what you're buying, and avoid all chemicals as much as possible. Have a wonderful, wonderful week, and I will catch up with you very, very soon.